Today we're going to talk about magic and spirituality. Remember when I used to do that? Remember when that used to be the point of this channel? It's still like, I still focus on that stuff. Like, spiritual warfare dovetails with a lot of crap that's happening here in the physical realm. So you end up, I end up moseying into that stuff, and then it kind of takes over. But yeah, so we're going to talk about thought forms in their relation to the armor of God, and how you can use both to make the other better. Then we're going to do that right after I get through this crowd of people. Still haven't gotten a new phone yet, so I'm going to try to hold this as still as possible. I was getting motion sickness doing the editing that one from yesterday. Oh my god. But yeah, no matter what kind of magic practice you happen to practice, it's always going to involve something known as thought forms. These are basically the ideas you form in your mind to take shape in the ether to then have an effect on this dimensional space. I think should I put the... Oh no, the film strip of 3D Man isn't relevant here. Anyway, it's okay if you show it, it's not a big deal. It's not like I can fire you. What you want to do, really, is it's an imagination-driven concept, where you want something to happen here in the 3D, in the physical realm, but so you want to imagine this thing in as detailed a way as you can, and the more you can imagine it, the stronger you can make that image in your mind, the more solid, or the more, not solid because you don't really bring anything into this world, the more effect it will have on this world. I'm going to try to think of a different example, but say you want to close a door, right? This is just a thing I'm making up now. What you would do is, in your mind, you would envision like maybe a log or a piece of wood or a battering ram, or maybe something that exists is easy to think about, and you envision it in your mind, and you get it with as much detail, and you figure out the way it moves. Now, that you don't have to know the actual mechanics of something, because as I always say, you're the architect, not the builder. You just have to kind of figure out how you want it, and the mechanics will take care of itself. And what you want to do is, like, if you think you make it like a battering ram or something to push that door closed, and then that happens in the ether, and then the door closes here in the physical realm. That's another fucking awful analogy, but that's the only one I could think of right now. I didn't want to use the crick one again. Every time I use the crick one, I gotta come up with some new shit, because I use a lot of these same things over and over again. Let me get around this corner. There's a clusterfuck coming up here. We as beings are reality creating machines. And indeed, everything that's around you in your area and everything that you see is created by you or other people. You try to figure out how good you are at it when you're young, and that's what leads into things like the GATE program, and also those ads you see in magazines like, can you draw this turtle? Because you try to figure out how good you are at making detailed thought forms in your mind. Because the more detailed you can make the thought form, the more powerful your magic is, the more powerful your reality creation is. Not everyone can do it. It's a 5%er thing. It's the apple in the head thing. You know, like that old people that can't picture things in their mind can't do it. That's 95% of the people. At least that's the number we've arrived at in current schizo circles. Which sounds about right. The other people being Hylics, which is like the ancient terminology for 95%. There's others depending on what culture they're from. There are some people that believe there are three kinds of people. One that can't, one that can, and then one that might be able to. I haven't seen a lot of evidence of that. I mean, I think that's what a lot of us tried to do for a long time when we first became aware of the spiritual war. A lot of times you make the mistake of trying to tell people about it. And then sometimes, like me, you end up in a mental institution because you tell the wrong people. Or you tell everybody. And then like, oh, he's lost his mind. Early on, I didn't know if I did or not. Because it was just early days for me. So I'm like, shit, maybe I have lost my mind. And I went along with the whole thing, listened to all the doctors, took the whole thing seriously. And it almost killed me. It almost killed me. The medication alone almost killed me. It's pretty fucked up. But, you know, I'm glad I'm out of that. So, yeah, gotta be careful with who you talk to about this kind of shit. But anyway, the thought forms are the things that you imagine in your mind, like I was saying, well, with the idea of it then having an effect on the 3D area this year. You see a lot of stuff on YouTube, like manifest money, you should never try to manifest fucking money or a sports car or anything. That's not, you can't even do that. That's not how it works. There's never a one-to-one trying to manifest something in the ether to appear. Nothing is going to appear in front of you. That's just not that doesn't, it's not how any of it works. You don't need it to appear in front of you. A lot of that stuff too, like a lot of money and wanting to change your luck. I think sometimes that stuff affects too many other people. What you want to do is you don't want to, you want to try to affect as few people around you as you can. Ideally, you don't want your ideas or your thought forms to affect anyone except you. The more you affect other people, the more you drift into what I would consider black magic. You know, and at that point, anything goes. I mean, if you're trying to affect other people, and not to get you to want to look into this, but it's real easy to get it over on most people, the 95%, who don't understand anything that's happening to them, anything that's happening to them anyway. So it's not hard to get one over on them, you know. But yeah, anything like that, I think is it's not good. How it relates to the armor of God is like you've heard in Christianity the idea of putting on the full armor of God to protect against the devil, and people say that, but what does it really mean? It's an idea, or you may, if you were to ask someone this, well, it's an idea, you want to protect yourself against evil or whatever. But the best thing I think to do is to imagine your armor of God, make it as real as you can in the ether, in the movie beam, in the projector beam. Want to make it as real as you can there, as detailed as you can there, so that it will then have an effect to protect you here in the 3D. Like for my armor, I figured out exactly what it looks like, from the epaulets, the gloves, to the helmet. Some of it just kind of came to me, like the design idea, but basically for me, it's a milky substance, like looks like glass. It's funny, it's almost like meth. Speaking of which, I gotta get back on meth, man. I mean, you know, when I came off it, I gained some weight. I used to be way skinnier on meth. I don't know what it is. It's a psychological thing, I guess, because when you're on meth, you're so happy to be on meth, you run around, you forget to eat. But you come off that shit, you start gaining weight. I gotta get back on it. You know what though? I can't, because they put fentanyl in everything these days. I mean, I haven't bought street drugs in years, but everything seems to have fucking fentanyl in it, which makes no sense, because like, why would you want to kill off the people buying your drug? I don't know. I think it's probably a larger like WEF thing. The farmers want to, well, they're in a kill phase now, actually. I mean, considering what they did a couple of years ago. Not to get off track, but like, man, so many times lately, I go to look up someone that I haven't thought about in a while. There's an old radio guy from LA called Jim Ladd. And I'm like, oh, Jim Ladd. And I saw that his house, someone had bought his old house. And I'm like, why did he sell his house? And I looked him up, and he had a heart attack in early 2023. Okay, I got him too. Whatever. But anyway, yeah, mine is like a sort of milky see-through substance. Like you can see through it like it's glass, but it has like a wispy white in it. It has a long helmet. That long helmet idea wasn't mine. It just popped into my head. Sometimes you have to go with things that jump into your mind. And yeah, it's almost like an alien, not like an alien head, but it's long. And yeah, and everything else is of that same kind of transparent, milky color. And there's boots, shin guards, all the pieces go on. So what you want to do is, once you have your color and kind of what the fabric of it is, like what it feels like to me, mine is like it's a hard kind of substance. I don't know what it's made out of. That, you know, like I said, you're the architect, not the builder, so the mechanics don't matter. Like, you know, to make that point more, I don't know if I have to, but you want to cook some food, you got the microwave, you put it in there, the food's cooked. You don't have to know how the fucking microwave works to get the same result. So that's all I mean when I say you're the architect, not the builder. But and then once you figure out what it looks like, or what your idea of it is, you want to put it on. And you want to keep it consistent in your mind. And over time, try to get it more and more defined. And for me, I found that it helps to add details. You know, over time. Like, over time, I was like, oh, it'd be cool if you know, I had these kind of designs on the side of it. And designs would run up each side of the legs and arms. Almost like a tracksuit or something. But it would be in some kind of language that I haven't determined yet. And that came later. I keep adding stuff to it. And you want to keep it the same way all the time. Try to get it in your head, okay, as if you've seen it. So then when you put it on, it'll work better. In this case, protecting you spiritually. It sounds schizo, I know, but that's kind of how it works. That's how it works in magic too. Like all magic is, whatever it is, kind of magic you fucking use. Flama, OTL, whatever fucking thing you're doing. Whatever terrible Crowley offshoot fucking. I fucking don't like Crowley. I understand. Like I get he, you know, he sussed out a lot of stuff. I appreciate what he did. But as a guy, I don't know, he's just degenerate. Too much, he was too into the sex magic thing. I understand the point behind sex magic, like what you're trying to do, you know, but I look at that and it's like, couldn't you do the same thing like 10 other ways without having to sodomize your friend? I don't know, whatever, it's not, I don't know enough about it, I haven't studied it enough to really make a you know, determination on if there is a better way to circumvent sex magic to get the same energies. But yeah, so just think about your armor of God. Just think simply, you know, just imagine it in your head. Just what it could be, anything you want, but the key is you want to pick a lane and stick with it. Now, I'm not saying you can't change it down the line, but if you do change it down the line, you have to say, or I don't know, you don't have to, but it would help to say, all right, I'm changing this now. I'm going to do something different. And then color it different or whatever you do. And then try putting it on and off a couple times in your mind with the new color. You want to keep it consistent as you can. And add as much detail as you can. Because it makes it more real, or it makes the effect more real when it hits the 3D screen. I've gone over this kind of thing like in videos, or maybe a half a dozen times. I don't think I've really done it good once. The same thing you do with the armor of God is the same thing, yeah, let me start that again. What you do with the armor of God is the same thing you do with everything. when you're talking about thought forms and wanting them to have an effect in the 3D. It's the same way. You want to just get it as close as you can in your mind, the detail. And like I was saying earlier, they try to figure this stuff out when you're a kid. It's almost like, and then they tag you. They tag you. Almost like when those researchers, the animals, when they bag them in, they put the tag on them, so when they send them back out in the wild, they can keep track of them. They get you when you're a kid, and they tag you. How? I don't know. And then they keep tabs on you. And I know for sure that's what happened to me, and that's what happened to a lot of other people too. Some people don't get sent back out into the wild. When my mom got really bad with dementia, and they moved her out of the house, I was cleaning up her place when we were moving out, and I found all this paperwork from the school about these different programs they wanted to add me to. And this is 2016. I didn't really have everything put together at that time. I knew I was in these weird fucking programs like GATE, and I didn't really realize it was called GATE until years later talking with other Anons. But whatever it was maybe some kind of front. They were calling it something else. And I also had something that they put me in called hand-eye coordination training that I did. And I did it when I was in first grade. I don't remember anything about it. Like all these sort of weird things. So they weren't doing it without my parents' knowledge. I think they were just calling it something else and having my parents think it was something else. I also went for speech therapy because I was a really bad stutterer. Out of nowhere, I was okay when I was real young, and then I just at some point, still in the single digits, I lost the ability to speak. I think that might have been because of trauma or something. I had all different kinds, head injury, trauma, and had multiple head injuries, which probably isn't too surprising to some people. But on top of that, there was also the abuse type shit. So I think that's where I developed the stutter, somewhere along there. I think with the stutter, it's probably more likely it was the actual physical head trauma. But I don't know. Dropped on my head when I was an infant. I think I died for a few moments. And all of a sudden my eyes rolled back into my head. I wasn't moving, wasn't breathing. And that's why I possibly think I had some kind of near-death experience. I don't remember it though. But all these things equate to whatever reason. Added to all the madness I was going through with all my problems. But I think this ability to be able to detail things, they became aware of it, the schools, when I was in my art class. Do I tell this whole story again? I don't know. See, the thing is, it's like you can't. People don't watch every episode. I might tell this whole story again because it is related to thought forms and how important it is. It's important to them, The enemy wants to know how good you are at that shit because they can tell when you're someone who may oppose them at some point. I think a lot of people say we chose to be here. We came to be in this. I think they'd like to suss those people out real early. I've seen other YouTubers refer to it as chosen ones. I think that sounds gay, but I get the concept. Starseed, whatever it is, beings that were aware they were going to come back here and chose to come back here. Let me get into that a bit more after I go in for a minute. I'm just gonna finish the video up here rather than wait till I go out later because I got some other stuff to do, and if I get caught up I won't finish it. But the yeah, they try to figure this stuff out when you're young. And I had some weird type abuse stuff happen to me when I was young, before all the art stuff happened. Like 6 or 7, I think, when all that stuff happened. Yeah, there's a whole lot to that too. But anyway, this was after that. Now I'm in school, maybe 2nd grade. I have the stuttering problem. I'm going to the speech teacher. I'm doing these weird programs that they're sending forms home for to get my parents' consent. I remember one day I was fighting with my dad. He was mad at me, and he was saying something. They wanted to send you to some kind of thing. He's telling me something like that. I wasn't listening to him though. But yeah, they had all these different things they wanted me to do because they thought I was developmentally disabled. You know, I don't know. There was a lot of weird stuff that I wasn't even thinking about back then because, you know, I didn't know I was going to come into this whole world here and have to try to remember things. And I don't remember a lot of stuff from that period. And I think that's because of the sclopamine. Is it whatever? Sclopamine? I don't know what the fuck. I'm not saying it right. I'll put it up there. But anyway, they noticed in our class that I was really good. In fact, I drew and wrote a children's storybook with my speech therapist teacher that was then put in the school library. They put it in those machines that take paper and they cover them in plastic. What do you call that? I don't know if they still do that. And just made a book out of it. There was one copy. And it was put in the library. It was kind of cool, you know, I thought, for me. So, I mean, it wasn't good. It sucked. But, you know, I was like fucking 7, 8. So, around this time is when they realized I was good at drawing. My art teacher, Mr. Taylor, who I liked. He was a cool guy, from what I remember of him. I remember one afternoon I was sitting in class, just a regular class, and he comes to the door and asks for me to go with him. Asked the teacher if he could take me. And so off I go with him down the basement. In the basement is where they had the library was in the basement. And he had his little office down there, his art office. And we used to have art class down there too. Or whenever we would do art, it wasn't like it was an art class. So, he pulls out this picture that I did, a Star Wars picture with Star Wars ships. And he said, you see this? How you did this? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, can you do this, right, with something that you make up in your head? And I said, yeah, I could do that. I had recently, prior to this, they had this thing where they brought all the kids out to draw the school. They'd shot us in front of the school to draw the school. So my picture left a real impression on them, my version of it. And they gave me an award, right? It was in the newspaper, which is the first time I was in the paper. My mom had a copy of it I saw when I was cleaning out the house. It was me, a little me. And this picture, they framed it, went on to hang in the superintendent of school's office. And it was there for many years until one of my school teacher sisters got a hold of it when the school in question closed down. And then it ended up at my mom's house, and it was promptly thrown away during the same period when I moved out. And I just chucked all the stuff, all that paperwork about me from school that probably would have helped fill in some blanks, or at least given me a little bit more information than I have now. But my attitude at the time was like, fuck this, I don't want any of this stuff, blah, 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 whatever. You know, so they were real impressed with this picture of the school, and what it was the detail I put into it. You were meant to sit there and copy the fucking school by looking at it and put it on the paper. And I did every little detail, from the rust on the rain gutters to the rust on the signs and drawing the signs. And it's just, everyone was blown away by it. I think it looks like shit. It's a kid drawing, but I do have to admit, it was more advanced looking than most second graders' pictures. So I had a skill of just looking at something and then drawing it like I was like a fucking almost like a photocopy. You know, like a Xerox. And that's why he brought me down the basement. It was like, basement. And he was like, can you do this with things that are just in your mind? And I was like, yep. And from then, after that is when I remember the things that people would associate with the gate program. Being in a chair with dividers around me, having to wear headphones, having to drink some pink liquid like Pepto-Bismol. I was in a room that originally, when I thought back on it, I thought it was the same school that I drew, but it wasn't, because they had the windows covered up with construction paper, and there's no windows downstairs. And I remember listening to tones, looking at pictures, a bunch of other kind of weird stuff. Nothing like weird as in sexual or anything, but just a battery of tests. And man, not much else as far as memory from that time. And they did give kids that drug, that I'm going to make you forget drug. But a lifetime happened after that. And in what year was it? 2012. Okay, because in 2008, let me get this down. Yeah, 2008 I got my schizophrenia diagnosis. In 2012, I got my DID diagnosis, dissociative identity disorder. I remember disassociating. Like, I could do it. I remember being in the dentist, right? And, you know, obviously this wasn't any kind of abuse or anything, but I used the skill. Because I was a weird kid. I refused Novocaine because I didn't like being penetrated. I don't know why. I think I know why. But that stands today. That's why I never got mixed up in heroin, thankfully. But so I would forego the Novocaine. And my dentist was really cool. He's like, this is going to hurt real bad if you don't take Novocaine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit, and then we'll stop, and do a little bit, and then we'll stop, and we'll see how you do. He didn't want me to do it, but I wasn't going to take the fucking needle. So I took it without the Novocaine, and what I did is I compartmentalized. I went to another world. I used the skill that I'd somehow developed, maybe through the gate process, maybe through abuse, through some... The abuse things wasn't like a rando thing, or remember well, it wasn't... It didn't happen randomly. It was structured, and it was a group of people, and it was over a period of time. So I don't know. And then that combined with the dopamine kept me from really having a lot of memories about that whole period. But yeah, from putting this all together, I'm under the impression that the enemy likes to figure out who's here from the good side and try to fucking nip that shit in the bud before they grow to an adult and do, I don't know, maybe lead people against them or something. It's very sci-fi sounding, but I don't know, someone has a better idea of what they could be. And keep tabs on you. You know, I've always kind of been followed in some way or another. Up into and including gang stalking, which is where my name comes from. Since I've been in Hawaii, though, it's been really chill. And, except for, I mean, there's been stuff. There's been stuff. And I'm always kind of, hesitant to talk about it because I don't want them to know that I know. So, yeah. But anyway, all of this has to do with the fact that I'm really good with Thoughtforms. Apparently. So, yeah, get yours going. At least the armor of God. Try to imagine the armor of God. And by doing that, you'll start to develop your skills, you know. What it's all ultimately for, I had no fucking idea. Like, is there going to be some kind of point where we'll have to, I don't know, use this stuff for some reason? I think it's more of a case of developing your spiritual self so that finally when everyone develops to a certain point, when we reach whatever maximum, group of people that you need to transcend out of here. We're just going to transcend out of here and get out of the simulation of the program, and it'll just end. You know what I mean? We'll just get out of here. But the enemy doesn't want you to get out of here. They don't want us to transcend here, because as long as we're here, they can suck up our energy to empower themselves and live like kings and queens in this physical realm and not have to serve in heaven. A lot of moving parts to this shit. And I have a problem just picking one aspect of it and sticking to it, but, I'm going to keep trying. God loves a trier. But I'm going to hop in the shower now. Thanks for joining me today. Hopefully you'll check on me again. And if you don't see me upload for like a week, then you'll have to press F, because that means the ice cream van got me. But until it does, don't blame the teacher, blame the school.